Hi, everyone. Welcome to Domain Sherpa. Jen and JT here, and today is the official relaunch of our Down the Rabbit Hole series. As we say here on Domain Sherpa, all roads lead to domains, and in the reverse, our work with domains has us venturing all the time into different topics, hence the jump down the rabbit hole.
So guys and girls, this will be a tech-adjacent digital assets, pop culture, tangent positive monthly podcast with some domain stuff thrown in there for good measure.
Yep, and as you can see from the set, we're really going all the way in and all the way down.
So the plan is we're going to pick a couple of topics each episode, and we're going to cover some related news of the day, and we're hoping to have some really interesting guests for you.
That's right. And today we've got Drew and Shane on the show, and our topic is AI. So we talk about ChatGPT, MidJourney, and some other popular tools. We talk about legal concerns, ramifications, and the effect on society in general. And we also talk about the U.S. filing their antitrust suit against Google. And remember, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, you can also watch the video version at DomainSherpa.com and our YouTube channel at ds.tv. You can also check us out on Apple and Spotify and other podcast platforms as well. And as usual, big shout out to Dan.com, the #1 place in the world to buy and sell your domains, with a special platform made for domain investors.
With that, it's time to get into this episode of Down the Rabbit Hole here on Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains.
Let's go. What's up, Sherpa Network? Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Jonathan Tenenbaum, a.k.a. JT, a.k.a. Jayon, a.k.a. Sherpa Winfrey, a.k.a. the Mad Hatter, I guess. And I'm the host and producer of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Today's show is officially the relaunch of Down the Rabbit Hole. It's our Down the Rabbit Hole series, so welcome to the tea party. As we say here on Domain Sherpa, all roads lead to domains. And in the reverse, our work in domains has us venturing all the time into different areas and things, some very familiar to us like crypto, NFTs, digital assets, and plenty of others that aren't so familiar, hence the jump down the rabbit hole. So this will be a tech-adjacent digital assets, pop culture, tangent positive, don't be mad, Drew, monthly podcast with some domain stuff thrown in for good measure. And, we'll pick a specific topic or two to get into and also cover some related news of the day. We might even bring on some interesting guests, or like today, some guests that aren't even so interesting. You can expect to see Jen and I. No, Jen, you and I are the regular, like we're the hosts. We're here all the time. So that wasn't you. You can expect to see Jen and I here all the time, and some of the other usual suspects like we have today. How we doing, everybody? Let me kick it over. So Jen and I are effectively the co-hosts of the new show, and as you can see, we're really leaning in. We got the set and everything. We might even have some other kind of cool little breadcrumbs in this piece. And so Jen, how you doing? What's happening? I know it's late over there down the
It is late, but I'm good, and this is exciting. We've been talking about this for a while now, so I'm excited.
I just think the set is just too funny. For those of you who are not watching the show, who are just listening, they're going to be like, they're going to shut it off after 5 minutes. And those of you actually watching will probably give us 10. But we've got it pretty cool. We're doing the Zoom immersive view. We'll definitely tinker with this as we go. But it's shout out to Billy for the work on it. He definitely did his thing. So, but let's go ahead and let's do the official introductions. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna start with Jen, all the way on the other side of the table. You know what I mean? So we got Jen Sale, aka Ozzy Osbourne, aka Olivia Newton-Jen, aka Rocket Al Dundee, aka Dingo Star, aka Melbourne to be Wild, aka Sipping on Jen and Juice, aka the Ever Queen, and in this case, definitely aka Alice. So, right?
I wore my light blue because I knew that it was for Alice.
I said we going down the rabbit hole. All right, let's go. Over to my right, I got my boy Andrew Rosner, a.k.a. Morpheus, a.k.a. the Dirk Diggler of digital assets. You're getting all the a.k.a.s today, dude. I had somebody that actually hit me up and said, hey, I missed the Dirk Diggler, a.k.a. on the last show. And I was like, see?
Rewind the tape. I'm sure it was there.
No, it was not. AKA the Sniper Bobbly Swagger, AKA Drew got what I need, AKA every Rosner has its thorn, AKA Drew Turn, AKA never gonna give Drew up, AKA Blackbeard the Domain Pirate, AKA Cancel Adams, AKA Level 14. What's up, man? Welcome to the tea party.
Yeah, delighted to be here.
That's what I'm talking about. Delighted. We are delighted. That's it. That's what it is.
Yeah. Next time I show up, though, I'm taking mushrooms. That's damn sure.
Well, yeah. Listen. Hey, look.
I'm going Mike Tyson and hotboxing. We're gonna be eating mushrooms and talking about digital assets.
That's it. Let's go. Well, that's the thing. I mean, we can do a show about psilocybin and all that good stuff. I mean, some of the things we've talked about, some of the guests that we're going to try, what we'd like to do when we really go down some of these, really interesting, where, getting some experts on here to talk through some of that kind of stuff. So for the domain maxis, I'm just going to tell you guys up front, we just did 3 DomainSherpa reviews in a row. I hope you guys enjoyed those. Big shout out to all y'all who tuned in. Big shout out to everybody who's on the show. But we got to break things up a little bit, guys. We talk a lot about a lot. And, there's a lot of other stuff that it's a lot of fun for us. We have these conversations offline before we record. And it's like some of those are even more entertaining than what we talk about on the show. So it's like, let's try to give the audience some of that, and so that's part of what we're doing here. And with that, let me go ahead and introduce the last guest that's here on today's show. You guys already know, but it's my boy Shane Culture, aka Sugar Shane, aka Honey Shane, aka Mike Rowe, aka Blame It on the Shane, aka House of Shane, aka the Cultivator, aka Blue Oyster Culture, aka the Culture Personality, aka the Culture Club, aka Doing It for the Culture, aka InShane in the membrane, aka InShane in the blockchain, aka Horticultura. What's up now? Let's go.
Oh, man, it's getting longer and longer.
Hey, that's what she said. That's what she said, baby. Let's go.
Oh, no.
Let's go. I mean, hey, by the way, this is the show where anything goes, and that is what the deal is.
Diversity.
There's no rules.
No rules. The only rule is there are no rules. And all right, well, with that, still here. With that, let's do it. Let's dive into these topics. Let's talk about it. So one thing I want to make a real quick announcement about the show that I think is a really cool thing. This show we're going to talk about some AI stuff since AI is eating the world. And this will be the first show, I believe, that we are actually going to launch an integration with the Muse.ai platform. So, Drew, do you want to kind of talk a little bit about what that's going to do for the show and why we're excited about it?
Okay. So this goes back a while. I invested into Muse.ai probably 2018, maybe 19, I think 18, maybe even 17. And
16,
yeah, probably 2018, I believe. So anyways, I was really fascinated by what he was doing. He had built this platform that was not like YouTube. It wasn't a sort of public access, network of videos. It was sort of a private, more like Wistia, like private video storage, but with a ton of value added to the storage component, right? The storage of data is ultimately a commodity, very difficult to compete. It's 100% just cost driven. And so, but what he had done was create some really sophisticated artificial intelligence that would analyze, video or images of any sort on a frame by frame basis and could extract, anything, basically take natural language and use it to search for, identify, label, anything from within that video, whether it's sound, whether it's, find the clip where Shane unzipped his hoodie and had a blue t-shirt on. Right?
I thought you were going to say unzip something else. I was like, I didn't see that show. That must have been, that's on the special, that's a special membership to get access to that.
It
only
sounds
Shane,
like a parlor
only
trick.
Shane. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It sounds like a parlor trick at first, but then when you think about that type of search capability, if you would have had that, let's say on YouTube, right? You could go exactly to moments, find me the moment in the JFK speech, in his last speech where he mentions the moon. And it's like, instantaneously brings you to that moment, and you could play it from that part of the video clip. And that's really powerful. So what I wanted to do specifically, in regards to Sherpa, was to make what I believe is the largest compilation of knowledge about the domain name industry that has ever been created and probably ever will be. and make it extremely functional so that anybody with any question about domain names more than likely will find an answer in one or many of the videos that have been published on DomainSherpa over the last 12, 13 years. And so it will take some time to get the entire back catalog on Muse. But going forward, all new videos will be, and we will be, basically every single day adding more and more of the backlog of the back catalog onto this platform. And at some point, you will also just have a portal through Muse where you can find all of the videos, or random people who are searching Muse like they may YouTube. We'll be able to find these videos. But anyways, this is just part of my broader strategy of grow the pie, right? And I think that, as I've said 100 times, grow the pie primarily starts with education and probably a little taste for speculation. And so if we can combine a little taste for speculation with a little bit of education, I think we can grow the pie. That's what DomainSherpa is all about.
Some innovation.
Since the day I bought
you know
it.
What I'm saying?
Stated that from the day I first did an interview on it. And, I think Michael Seiger would probably agree with that sentiment, not to put words in his mouth, but I did. And
but you did.
So that's it. That's the story of Muse.ai meets DomainSherpa.
So let's talk about like the tech.
I like to butter my own bread, right? I invest.
But I think it's dope. Well, we also need to figure out. So is this the first episode? If Billy could tell us somehow if this is going to be, this is the first one that's going to go live with Muse?
Well, then we better say some really good things.
So that's going to go live with Muse on the DomainSherpa website.
What's that? Who's that? What? Did we just hear
what?
The voice
Jane raises hands to the sky.
And if y'all can figure out where he is in the
all bow down to the Cheshire God.
Oh man, wait a just spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
What I say.
All right, so this one's going to go live, and then is it the Michael Saylor? I think will be the first one, and then we start going through the rest of the archive. So,
yep.
I mean, just that Michael Saylor, I forget what 2 or 3 hour interview with Michael Saylor, where him and I just rap on domain names in the future and the past and the present and the value proposition. It's like just applying that search capability to that interview. Like when you're in a negotiation, to be able to find that exact phrase to say, "Hey, here's the value proposition," to be able to go in and find, the way that every broker who's ever been interviewed on here thinks about, the value proposition, to think about how to respond to rejections, to think about, how to measure the value, to create a first principles, bullet points of like, here's the way to think about how to value this domain name, right? And that's just like on one utility, right? So I'm really excited. And actually what I would ask is that once this launches and once people start playing with it, I would love to hear, whether it's on Twitter or email me. I'm easy to find. And let us know how you have utilized it. What did you find useful, or did you find it completely useless?
Yeah, we'll definitely take as much feedback. It's not that it's useless. It's just that you use it less. I don't know. Anyway, all right. Shout out to Braden. Hey, let's keep it moving though. So I think this segues. I know that was terrible. It was terrible. Billy, cut that out, please. All right. Well, look. This is a good segue into the AI tools, because there's so much talk about ChatGPT and these other things. And I know that Jen, you've been way down the rabbit hole on a few of these. Shane as well. So let's So what besides ChatGPT are you messing with when we're talking about AI and this kind of stuff?
Well, one thing I was going to talk about is we're not talking about the tech of what you just discussed, right? So we're all old enough to know that when OCR came through and you were able to take an image and have a computer read and extract data from an image, take that, like if somebody wanted to keep you from stealing their table information they put into a table, they would put it in a photo on the website. So thinking that you can't take all the information and data from that picture. No, computer came in 15 years ago and was able to take that photo, throw all that into a spreadsheet for you by reading the photo. So now we're taking it to the next level. A computer is going to come in and watch our video, take all the words and the actions and write it into a screenplay of all the actions we took visually, and it's going to take all the words and put it into text form. And the first thing it's going to be used for is the same thing we use OCR for, and it's going to be to scrape all your data and use it for themselves. That's what it's going to be used for. You think it's going to be used for great information and I'm going to learn? That will not happen. The first thing that will happen is somebody that is more advanced than the others will come and extract all your data and take it for themselves and make something of their own. So I can tell you that's going to be the first use. It's always a first use. OCR, that's what we used it for. You think it's like, oh, I'm going to make my company better. Nah, you're going to be like, shit, you did all the work. I've got computer skills and I'm going to take all the information and put it to use in another way. So I think it's wonderful information, but I do think people are now going to have to protect their content because they will be using your video using a Muse-like device themselves. They'll figure out how to download your YouTube video and throw their own Muse on top of it and extract everything. So I think that we're in this, that's something you're going to have to think about because it's being done now. I mean, I remember when we were trying to get all the information from for.cn back in the day, like the Chinese had this incredible sales information and they didn't want to be scraped. So they put it all in photos. And Travis was like, I don't care. So we used a computer and we scraped all the data from the photos and then they blocked our IP. And he's like, it doesn't matter. I got a proxy. I'll just send a different IP every time and we'll every day. Those are the kind of things. We weren't doing it for bad use, but that data was very valuable for us to value our domain names because we wanted to know what the Chinese market was getting for domains. That's what people are going to use in what we're seeing ahead. So it's an amazing tool. Screenplays are going to be written. I'm going to film a video and it's going to write me a screenplay here this year on what I just recorded.
Yeah.
You just described the technology to do it because that's what it's doing already. So what's in front of us is amazing, dangerous, exciting, scary, but content is now even more king because now you can take the content that Drew has and we've all done and put it to a useful form. The thing that we have to be careful for is we're also giving it away to the world. So you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, I think that's something that we discussed offline, Shane, during the week about the misuse of content and data when it comes to AI and what are the legal implications in people just using anyone's data. I mean, I saw a tool the other day. So there's one website, I think it's called huggingface.co. Anyway, people can go check that out. So you can go check that out. And if you go into the spaces section, and then if you sort it by popularity or the most votes, you can see all of these like AI tools that are currently in beta, and you can play with them and test them. And some of the tools that are in there are just, I mean, I don't think it was on Hugging Face, but I think on another one I saw, you can basically train the AI so you can upload videos of yourself, and the AI learns your gestures, facial expressions, voice, everything. And you can actually go back and edit your videos. So if you accidentally said something or you want to change a word of what you said, you can, it was just, I'm like sitting there going, this is insane.
But it's exactly what Shane said, right? Like I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, okay, so I've got, I am the most frequent guest on DomainSherpa. And it's been live for 12, 13 years. Now, the way I look has changed significantly since those first videos. But if you were to go back and like train ChatGPT, there are probably thousands. I don't even know. Like, let's say I'm on, I don't know, a quarter of the videos, right? It's like, that's a lot of videos, probably 5,000 videos. I'm probably around 1,500 of them. Average is 1.5 hours. So it's like, whoa, we got, let's call it 7,500, 10,000 hours of video to train on and recreate me. Like, I bet they could create a pretty accurate,
by the end of the week, I could have you giving a 10-minute speech on anything I want.
Can you make him nicer though?
But the problem is that
I'm going to.
It's interesting that I can do that, but anybody else can now do that as well. And then what, right? So we are really entering a very crazy world. And like, what I fear is just like the things that bother me the most in the real world today are
People.
the way that institutions, including governments, including agencies, including educational institutions, including just sort of the fundamental institutions that create society today. There's an inherent sense of distrust among the public, probably an even greater sense of distrust in me. And that is leading to this polarization. That is leading to sort of the ripples that are happening in society and the breakdown of these institutions in what we call civilization. And when you cause people to completely lose grasp of reality, of what is real, what is not, I am really, truly, deeply concerned about what society looks like when people lose that tether to reality.
Sure.
When
Well, look,
they basically are going to be able to find exactly the opinion they're looking for on any given topic,
given by the person
and
that they want
it's
to
gonna
hear it
create
from,
these-
whether or not they said
it's
it
going
or
to create
not.
these
You know what I mean?
loops. It's going to create these horrible loops that are reinforcing.
I think it comes
They're
down
going to
to
create extraordinary
parenting.
levels of.
Parenting is going to be so important right now in teaching your children what bars to be reached are real and which ones are not, because it's very difficult for a young person to strive to have a goal of what they want to be. And that bar is raised so high this last generation because everybody's got a brighter smile and everybody's got a perfect picture and everybody picks out the best moments. That you're comparing yourself to the best 0.5% of their day.
Not
and
only
some
that,
of it's
the
not
best
even
0.5
real
of their day through a filter that makes it look even that much more perfect.
And most of it's
you know
not
what I mean?
real. So the first thing that I give a lot of talks to parents and raising young daughters because it's super difficult for men to raise young women. And the one thing that you really have to do now is more time speaking to them about what's real, get them out and see reality and see people and travel the world and talk to them and make sure their bar is a real bar. And it's more important than ever.
Yeah, definitely. And I think social media kicked all of these filter bubbles off and all of these behavioral loops anyway. Like, so we're already, like, especially the younger generation are already cushioned into that world. Like, they're already like, oh, this is comfortable, I'm okay with it. Like, and now going down this next level, and that's what I see happening. And it's happening so fast. So fast. Like, I mean, one tool that I've been playing with, and a few of you know this just over the past few days, is MidJourney. And because I have a background in art, I just love the creativity side of it. But what I also find really interesting about that tool is the science behind it. And it's not just, you plug in a few words and things like that. I think Shane said to me, maybe today or yesterday, he said, no, there's going to be such a thing as a prompt artist.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I feel like I'm almost in training doing at the moment, learning all these different.
So, just for the record, the term has it's prompt engineer.
Yes, I know. I've heard that.
Prompt engineering is now that's like, the new data scientist, right?
Well, and I think that's
for the last
one of the
data scientist was like, the ultimate tech, career.
And there's known artists. If you go to Pizza Later on Twitter, he's the finest AI artist out there. He's absolutely amazing, and he's a true artist. Never painted a thing in his life. Pizza artist.
Well, yeah,
or Pizza Later.
Well, look at somebody like Beeple, you know what I mean, with the digital art, right? It's like, I don't know that Beeple's ever put a brush to a canvas, right? But yet, look at what he's, achieved. And but continue, Jen, what you were saying.
Yeah.
No, it's just like
Jen's becoming good. I've watched her pieces. Like, I can see the excitement.
Same deal. I mean,
like a true artist, she's practicing.
And that's what it is. Yeah.
That's what it is. Like, it's and every single day if you keep just diving into this, you're learning from other artists, like different prompts, and then they go and create AI tools that can recognize what prompts were used on pieces of different AI art. And so then you can go, okay, well, if they those prompts, I'm going to apply that to mine. But it's with MidJourney, it's kind of like there's 3 parts to it. So you can either reference an image. So you can start with an image and say, take this image, apply prompts to it, and then you can also apply arguments. But it's learning all of these different things, and then it's like setting different aspect ratios, and like, you know, prompts can be anything from like, I mean, you know, I've now got mine to, it's like a couple of paragraphs of prompts, but it's like, and then you go through and then you're doing these things called like upscaling. So it creates like a higher resolution or a more clear, defined piece for something that you've done. And then you can do different variations to that. I mean, it's just, I'm just sitting there going,
I'm on this little kick, and I have no skills whatsoever, but I'm having fun with it. I'm on this little kick. I got obsessed with gemstones, primarily sapphires, blue sapphires. And I'm obsessed. I'm super deep down the rabbit hole, learning about, you know, the history, the myths, the importance, you know, the origins, the values. I've, you know, hired a local gemologist here in Lisbon to teach me about, like, you know, the history of crown jewels in Portugal. And, you know,
the rabbit hole effect is real. There will be a show on this, by the way.
What were the factors that went into the design of jewelry through these various periods in history, going all the way back to ancient, you know, civilizations, and why have these particular gemstones sort of followed humanity through every single known culture and period in human existence?
Wait, real quick.
So I'm I'm super interested. Anyway,
People listening to this can be like, how fucking rich is Drew? You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, hey, the rabbit hole that I went down was rare stones.
I already had the show. It's called Chasing Carrots with Drew Rosner.
Chasing
Carrots. I love it. Let's go. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
That Drew. Is a dope ass title. So I have been buying some stones, and I want to design like an heirloom gem piece, you know, like basically, fuck you, Charles. I'm gonna create my own crown jewels, right? So I want to create literally like a family heirloom. I think I'm gonna do a pendant, okay? And I'm gonna rock it like, you know, like the Jay-Z. I'm gonna rock it like the Jay-Z Rockefeller.
That would be so badass if we show up with a conference with a big old giant.
Oh, it's happening.
Sapphire,
sapphire heavy.
No, like trust me, that's happening. So, anyways, I you know, was hand drawing some shit, and I'm like, oh my god, I have zero talent. There's a 0% chance I'm going to design something that's actually interesting from any perspective. So I went in and I started using Stable Diffusion and iterating and like thinking about like, okay, I want like, you know, I like the rough, raw style of like pre-Columbian, like, you know, Mayan gold jewelry design, right? Love that. I was like, yo, so I want some pre-Columbian gold pendant with an 8-carat blue sapphire from Kashmir, you know, and I want the design to be based on, you know, Nikola Tesla's 369 vortex math principles. And it's like, that is the dopest fucking pendant I've ever seen. How, you know, like, I want that one. It's amazing. It's really unbelievable.
It's so cool. It's so cool. And there are like other tools, like I sent Shane and JT like a bunch of tools that I've been playing with over the last like week. There was one that stood out to me, and I think Shane took a brief look at it. I don't know how much you went into it, but the browse.ai. And I think that tool's super powerful. And I think if domain investors get onto that tool.
I already started scraping with it.
Right.
Billy, edit that section out. We don't want to, you know, give away the sauce.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether to bring it up or not, but I do think like there's so many different applications that you can use for it. And I'm not going to dive into them now because there are some that I want to use. But yeah, I think if you do check that one out as well, the cogs will start turning and you're going to figure out some cool like ideas using a tool like that.
So think about this, and this is the one we'll have to question too, whether it's, I don't know if ethical is the right word, but so for instance, I'm writing articles for my websites, and I have the Big Island, and I wanted a whale picture. So I know a local photographer, and I bought a picture of a beautiful picture of a whale that he took. But I needed more whale pictures, so I took that photo, threw it into
More
AI,
whale,
and I
like more
and I
cowbell.
have whales breaching, and I have whales with 3 little babies. And I made 5 more pictures from that picture to put into my article. Who is that? His, like, does he own the rights because he's the originator? Is it now mine?
Well, so
how's
this
that
is
work?
the part where I get a little frustrated with the general discussion, because everybody's like, oh, we're in a whole new world. And it's kind of like the discussion around Web3 domain names, right? It's like, no, we're not in a whole new world. Like, this isn't a new paradigm. There are existing rules, there are existing laws, there are existing cultural norms, and those apply here. And it's like, okay, so it's what you're talking about is a derivative work, right? And so in the world of intellectual property, maybe the intellectual property lawyer over here can chime in, but like, I don't know exactly what that percentage is, but there's a percentage. And so the derivative work, if it is more than, let's say, 30% derived from the original work, you technically need permission and perhaps need to pay a royalty to the original artist. If it's less than whatever that line is, free game, right? So you see that with like sampling in music, right? It's like, okay, if it's less than whatever, I don't know, is it 10%, 5%? What is the? Do you know what it is?
I think if you use any common phrase in a song, right? Like even if you need a quick hook, you got to pay.
Well, it depends, right? So there's a difference of if you're actually going to sample the music itself or if you're going to replay it. You know what I mean? Like there's different things that you can do. And it's funny because when you think about this, is almost like what happened with Vanilla Ice and Ice Ice Baby and sampling Queen and all that kind of stuff.
That was totally different. One of them went dun da da dun da da dun dun.
Yeah, it was the dun at the end that made all the difference, right? And but yeah, no, and I think that's a key aspect of this. And to Drew's point, right there, and no matter what, they're going to try to apply existing law to new tech as they've always have, right? And then it's just a matter of, okay, who owns what rights? And, and when you start venturing into, commercial use of somebody else's potential intellectual property, and if it is a derivative work, how much of it is actually being used, how much of it is being, sort of replayed, if you will, or, recreated, if you will, because again, completely different, so and then it's also a question how much value are you extracting, so is the juice worth the squeeze, as we say sometimes, it's like just because I might have an image that you rip off, I may never even know, right? Because especially now you're gonna have all of these tools and platforms that are gonna allow for people to be pulling and grabbing from all over the place, but to the extent that you use it in a way that's very lucrative for you, you better believe that then becomes more of a trigger.
That was my next point. Is it's not really about what are the new rules. We know what the rules are exactly what the rules were before. The real question and interesting topic is enforcement. Like this thing is going to iterate so quickly. People are going to create so much new content, images, videos, interviews, how are you possibly going to enforce it, right? So that's
I can't even tell. I did 5. So he took 3 photos. I put those up. I did some derivatives, and then I went completely natural and just said whale, Hawaii, and just built my own. I know which ones are his 3, but of the other 3, I can't tell you which ones are derivatives from his or which ones are from straight up prompt. So, and then I'll tell you one more. Like there's some cases where I'm not even going there. So I needed an article on Parker Ranch in Hawaii with some cows overlooking. I type in cow, grassy fields, Big Island, Hawaii, and I have a beautiful picture of a cow standing over with a backdrop of Hawaii.
What tool are you using for that?
I use a combination of all of them. I use MidJourney, but I also use DALL-E quite a bit.
And then for MidJourney, to set up an account, do you have to use Discord or something? We're having this conversation because I don't use MidJourney.
Yeah. The moment I went on MidJourney, it pointed me over to Discord. I was like, I'm an anti-Discord maximalist.
But no, there are like some tips that I didn't know about how to really use MidJourney, like because I was going on there and like going in all the newbie like threads and like just creating things, which is like basically the public forum. But you can actually create like a private message with the bot, and you can make sure your art's all set to private. But again, like these are like things that you just like have to figure out and learn how to navigate because it's so new and it's changing like all the time. So every day I'm going on there or I'm seeing a new video that someone's posted and they're saying, I saw today. So it was quite interesting. Adobe has already written into their terms and conditions about generative art. So they've created their own terms and conditions saying, yes, you can list your generative art on here for sale. However, these are the rules, and they're all really obvious rules. But they very quickly pivoted, going, no, let's let people sell this stuff. Like,
yeah, stock images is the same thing with stock photos.
It's stock. Yeah. So everyone's like, they're all kind of like jumping onto that. But again, I think that stuff.
Who's the biggest short in this? You know, like is it like how, you know what I mean? Like who's gonna get the most disrupted by this in the immediate short term? Who gets most disrupted by this? Is it
AI?
Just based on everything that's happening, just in general, like which legacy business or which industry is going to be
a straight up article writer.
Like what about Getty Images? Like is Getty
Images?
No,
because Getty Images make a living on the subject.
Yeah, and I would say Getty's actually insulated because they own so much of this sort of core IP, right? That a lot of this stuff, like if nothing else, they're going to have plenty of claims to chase. But I think I think this is a great question.
Well,
what about Google? What about Google? I mean, I think that's something we got to talk about too.
Hold on. Let's wait on Google for 1 second. So think about Getty, for example. So Getty's got the largest catalog of photographs, I think, in the world, right? And so of famous people, of places, of just, photographers.
But they don't .txt anything. Like there's no access to it. You're not going to scrape it. They don't put the file.
No. Yeah. But okay, so
you're saying you won't even need it in the first place.
Some portion of the business gets lost because you don't need that whale picture anymore. You can just go, hey, give me a whale picture.
Yeah.
Right?
I got you.
So some portion of their business is lost. It gets interesting around, likeness, use of likeness and stuff like, hey, give me a picture of Prince Harry, banging a monkey in the jungle, right? And it's like, boom, here you go. So, voila.
You want another one?
So some portion of that business gets severely harmed, right? Then there's we've got this proprietary data set that we can actually train on, and maybe that creates a new tool that's super powerful for some utility. Maybe it's for movies. Maybe it's for, hey, we don't need, somebody that's already got a back catalog like a Tom Cruise. He said, you know what? You can retire. This is now going to be passive income for you. We're going to take that back catalog of all your movies. We're going to train it on this AI. We're going to create new Tom Cruise movies. You're going to get paid. Maybe it's less, but you're going to get paid to do nothing. So, enjoy your cocktail. I don't know.
That was nice tie into a Tom Cruise movie, by the way. That was really good with cocktail.
Yeah,
I don't know if you did it on purpose.
Now that we're going to be ripped.
For a guy who doesn't watch TV or movies, that was really good.
Hold on, I need to say this clean so the bot can pick it up. A mesothelioma case, if you have any problems with it, please.
It's like,
I'm trying to get you good CPC here.
That's good. Let's rank up in this bitch.
MediaOptions is the industry's leading domain broker specializing in domain acquisitions, high-value domain sales, and domain name consultation. As pioneers and thought leaders on the subject of the domain aftermarket and domain name value, plus through their clear domain acquisition service, MediaOptions offers startups and established corporations an unparalleled scope of high-value domain options, providing access to domain names and curation technologies not available elsewhere. MediaOptions believes in the power of a great domain name and is dedicated to helping you obtain yours. Call or email today to put a domain to work for you.
But yeah, a couple points to that real quick, because there's a lot that we can unpack on almost every aspect of this. This is what's so crazy because of how AI is really touching so many different things. And this video that we were watching the other day about how the scope of this is just nuts, you know, because at first you're like, oh, okay, cool, it can write an article. But then when you realize like, oh, it can create pictures. Oh, it can create movies. I mean, they're showing how it's changing video where you're able to edit a movie after it's been filmed, actual video of having the actors say different things. And it's like, then it's a question of when they start creating these AI generated movies, will it have the same authenticity? And eventually it probably will. I think this goes back to even what you were saying earlier, Drew, about sort of this, you know, this lack of trust, because now you're going to be able to create alternate realities based on people spend so much time online. They get so much of their news, their information, their worldview is crafted based on what they find on their phones, on social media, videos, YouTube, and all that kind of stuff. And now that's going to be created in a way to really trigger and, you know, sort of like tickle and touch points that people
hyper-optimized
itches that they want scratched. And it's like really, really nuts. And, but I wonder when you talk about a movie, like when we see that first, because in some ways, AI generated.
Think about the timeline compression too, right? Like, so let's say there's a hot topic, like COVID popped up, right? And it was like the first movie about COVID that came out was what, 2 years later, 2.5 years later, right? Imagine like there's a new hot topic at scale, and it's like, we're going to produce a movie about that. It's going to be out next week. You know, like, that's also that immediate gratification is going to be, you know.
Well, and what about the loss of source? The loss of source. This is all built on source. But if AI is writing all the new content, you're going to be doing AI, which is built on AI, which is built on AI, which is built on AI. And the person that wrote the original is going to get lost.
So, all right, since this is down the rabbit hole, I want to drill down on that topic right there because it's one of my personal. So, all right, if everything, civilization itself, right? It's a set of stories.
Whoa, that went big.
Toe in right now.
It all comes down to these early assumptions, right? Science, culture. There's these decisions that get made by people who often aren't aware of the implications of those decisions 100 years in the future, 10 years in the future, even 5 years in the future. But they're making decisions in our lives, in business, in science, and all forms of creation. There are basic assumptions that get made, right? And those assumptions get compounded upon because, as you said, it's AI on top of AI. Well, the early input that went into creating that first generation of AI, there were certain assumptions that went into the prompt. There were certain assumptions that went into the code, certain assumptions that went into, you know, the framework that it was built on. And those assumptions get compounded and extrapolated out over multiple generations. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's bad. And I was thinking about this deeply the other day because, you know, I'm super fascinated by this whole topic that seems to be getting popular around like these ancient civilizations that likely, I would say the evidence is now quite clear that, you know, there was a human civilization prior to the Ice Age, that the popular, you know, sort of history book that we got as kids probably isn't right. Probably this iteration of civilization was not the first advanced civilization that existed. There probably were earlier civilizations. I think it better, you know, explains a whole bunch of the questions that are left in our history books today. And those prior civilizations, people say one of the biggest arguments against it is scientists will say, well, we haven't found any iPhones laying around, right? We haven't found any nuclear weapons that were laying around. We haven't found, and the assumption that relies upon is that the way we define advancement of civilization today in our current civilization and society is technology driven. We think about an advanced society being technology based, right? Now, perhaps you go into the Amazon and you find a culture that's been around for 5,000 years, and these people are basically untouched by modern civilization. And you think, wow, this is a pre-advanced civilization, right? These people aren't advanced, and maybe they are, maybe they aren't. You know, it depends on your definition and perspective. Well, there was maybe a civilization that existed prior to the Ice Age that was probably around for somewhere between 5,000 and 12,000 years, and they had 5,000 to 12,000 years of advancement And that advancement was based on a very early assumption by somebody that was probably a priest or a god or a whatever. Somebody made an early assumption about this is what advancement for our civilization looks like. And it probably wasn't, the North Star wasn't the iPhone, right? The North Star wasn't rocket ships. It wasn't nuclear weapons. The North Star was higher consciousness. The North Star was understanding our self in relationship to the natural environment, understanding our place on this planet in relationship to astrology. And they probably had an extraordinarily better and more advanced understanding of those things than we do today, even though we would consider ourselves to be more advanced because we've got cell phones and nuclear weapons. So anyways, those early assumptions are absolutely critical. Over a 12,000 year period, some early assumption made by some priest who said, we are going to be focused on enlightening ourselves and raising our consciousness, probably led to a completely different form of advanced civilization than the one that we have today. And so these early assumptions that we put into this AI are going to have absolutely profound effects because they get compounded on and compounded on with each new generation. And I think that nobody's paying attention, or at least not in the general discussion, about what are those early assumptions that we really need to be careful about.
The funny thing is you led into this with screwing a monkey in the jungle that's going to be on your profile forever, that's going to be built on.
That was a little extra, but I think you make some really great points.
Look at our set, man. You know what I mean?
No, but still, you're saying it right. Everything you say is a build
right now.
But everything you say, everything you do will be built on and part of you for eternity, because computers are gonna scrape that and add that to your profile, and it'll always be associated with you.
No pressure, though. No pressure on everything you say.
For you.
But you're also
Does that mean you should disclose more or disclose less? Should you be more vocal or less vocal? Because the AI is going to, paint a picture of you no matter what. So do you want it to be real because you've expressed your true beliefs and all the things that are in your head? Or do you want it to be artificial because it's based on some 5%
I think at this moment you should be less vocal
shared.
So Jen can actually get some words out.
I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say, that's where my concerns come in, is running the risk of, we put ourselves out there and there's quite a bit of content now, and video content of us and audio content of all of us online now, right? Everyone has access to that. They can do with it what they really like with this AI. So I'm just if I happen to show up on OnlyFans, it's not me. I'm just saying, it's not really me. But you don't really know, where.
But if the Stripe account connects to your bank account, that's not the worst thing.
She does want a royalty, okay? You know what I mean?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Send that mailbox money.
And it's like that. Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. I just that is something that I get a bit one thing that I've not done with my kids is I've not posted photos of their faces at all. And to the point that my 9-year-old can explain to someone, well, mum doesn't want to do it because of the facial recognition technology that's out there. And later on, when I'm older, if she's put up stuff of me and I don't have control over that content, then that's put them in a really awkward position. So, he's 9 and he understands that and he can explain it to people. But I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot to navigate here, and it's just moving so quickly. And we've all kind of seen this, we've all been in the business now for a couple of decades, and we've seen it when there's been these sprints with any kind of new tech, whether that was crypto, whether that was NFTs, whatever it was, we've all witnessed it and how quickly these things go. AI right now, though, I find it interesting because the general public's really paying attention to it. And that's making
very few things have hit this level of the public imagination capture. I think
but I will tell you, I think as popular as it is,
maybe the iPhone.
As popular as it is, though, I think people still have like zero clue of the capability of what all of this can do. And this goes into what you guys are saying about the fact that we've got jobs that are now prompt engineers as quickly as we do based on this kind of stuff. And I mean, and you could even argue that ChatGPT is cool and transformative as it is. And, I was looking today at like, when they talk about the amount of adoption, right? Like how many people signed up for the thing, since it, and comparing it to like how long it took Facebook and Twitter and, to get 1 million users, right? For ChatGPT, it was 5 days. Instagram was 2.5 months, Facebook 10 months, Twitter 2 years, Netflix 4 years, like whatever it is. It's like, but even ChatGPT is a real, kind of relatively simple, and there, when you think about the really advanced stuff that's going to be built on top of that, going back to kind of what Drew said and everything else, we're barely scratching the surface here. I think it is like, it's
and one thing
crazy
to remember though, this is not new. Like we're just labeling everything AI. I mean, we've been using AI. We're just calling it AI. I've been using Grammarly. Well, how long have I been using Grammarly? 2-3 years. Grammarly is AI and fixing my structure and my grammar. And I get a mail every month.
Emails.
I purposely don't use it sometimes, but it'll tell me my tone. I don't know if you use Grammarly. You get an email at the end of the month that shows you all the percentage of every tone that you used in all of your writing. Yeah,
man,
so it'll
say
it
would be like passive.
No,
stop
it
being
is.
a bitch. Passive.
I got it angry. It's like a new tone generated.
What would it say from mine? I would have put it across all my email.
Like, yours, it would basically be like, please, sir, stop using our service. We don't have a. Once they reach extreme causticivity, I don't know. They come up with some new term for like the harshness.
It does change how you write. Like when you wrote 3 days in a row in a depressed or whatever tone, you find yourself, hey, maybe I need to snap out of something.
That's
like it literally helps you. Your tone can be detected, and it is literally goes along with your personality.
That's also so scary. You know what I mean? Like, I forget what movie, one of these sci-fi movies, and it was like, sorry, sir, we can't let you out of your house today because we've detected that you're in a violent, aggressive mood.
But here's the thing.
Sorry, sir, your Tesla's not going to be able. We're not going to be able to turn your Tesla on today because your
mood is too aggressive.
Your mood is too aggressive.
But our wives and husband have been telling us that, like when your wife says, "Man, you're being a little bitch. You're angry all the time," and then all of a sudden Grammarly says, "You're like, quit it." I am not. And then Grammarly says, "You're writing really angry," and you're like, "Well, shit."
Ooh, exactly. Yeah. Well, that just gets about it. It's like me trying to tell my kids anything. It's
I'd be like,
coach them.
Unsubscribe.
I'd say, over and over and over again. They don't hear it. They hear it from somebody else, and it's like the same thing, but they actually pay attention and listen. And
but there's all kinds of tools like that we're using that are AI. We just don't call it now. But if I have a company now, I'm definitely calling it AI because now I'm getting more capital. But it's been computer learning is computer learning. We've been using it for decades. The difference is how fast it's moving and how fast it's building. And then it is, like I said, we put AI on it. It just makes it more popular than ever.
Well, and it's interesting because it's like each time there's sort of these inflection points, and it's like, I'm not sure what it was. And maybe it was just ChatGPT bringing it more into public consciousness. But, the thing about deep fakes, we've been seeing the Tom Cruise deep fake videos and stuff. And people are like, oh my God, wait till, but I think it's the accessibility really now. And that's what now that people recognizing that there's money in it. And there's, investability, things have slowed down in other sectors, right? Crypto, NFTs, things like that, not as sexy, not as lucrative, not as easy. So now it's like, what's the next thing? And it's kind of like AI sort of slides in. And it's kind of like you said, it's been operating sort of at this pace of where things have been happening. We haven't been, we've been calling it what it is. We've been saying it's the next thing. But now that it's like really kind of come in at this time where it's otherwise a bit slow, sort of, hey, this is the next wave, slap AI and everything. But what that will do is it will create a lot of activity around all of these different pieces, which will drive quicker innovation. And, again, it's almost like the introduction of this into the public sort of consciousness has really been this inflection point to really start driving this.
And stealing is cool again. Like before they were AI, they seriously, like, look at the credit card, look at Honey. They're going through all your credit card purchases. They're seeing everything you've ever bought. And now they're saying it's cool because now I'm going to tell you what coupon code would work best for your spending. So when you go through the final checkout, I'm going to give you money back. And you're like, oh, great. Look at everything I've ever done. But as long as you give me money, take it.
Yo, speaking on that specific topic, has anybody used Forget About Me? No, Leave Me Alone. They just upgraded to a .com. which was how they got on my radar. I never heard about them before. I'm plagued. I get 2,000 to 2,500 emails every day. Okay. And so it's like, it's a curse. I'm literally, it's literally a plague. So I have experimented with every form of filter and, blah, 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 that you can imagine. I have found that the more I try to unsubscribe, the more emails I end up getting. And so I heard this was really good. I was wondering if you guys have ever used it, but it's what you were just saying. Connect it to like your Apple account, and then it basically looks at all the email that you're subscribed to, and then you can somehow auto unsubscribe, right? But I think at the protocol level, so that
Yeah, I think they have the unsubscribe, like as far as all your subscriptions. I should know the name, but where it looks at every membership and everything you sign up for, and it will unsubscribe to the gym. It will unsubscribe to all these $5.
Yeah, I've seen that too. But my thing is, like, how many things do you have? Like, it's like, oh, I didn't realize I had 3 Netflix accounts until it went through my stuff.
That's what this shows. That's what this shows. It'll show everything you're paying monthly is based on your credit cards, and then it'll unsubscribe them for you.
So,
and I don't even want to know
the scope of the shit that we just talked about, and think about, let's just extrapolate that out. Like, let's not get crazy. Let's look out 5 years. Like, what does the world look like? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this shit, all the things we've talked about, we're at ChatGPT, we're at GPT-3. Like, all of this is iterated over a 4-month period. Like, in 5 years, I just feel like, what's interesting to me is that deep down, I actually suspect that where we're going to arrive to, whether it's 5 years or not, is a place where we're sort of in that, at the height of the Greek Empire, where people are sitting around in togas, and pondering the universe. And I think that's probably where we get to in some form. It's where we probably do have a lot more leisure time. Forget about all the dystopian horrible shit, but from
I like it. I like the positive spin.
We probably all have a lot more leisure time. I was thinking about it when you were talking, Shane, about spending a lot more time talking to your kids. We probably will be spending more time with our kids, being parents. And that sounds like a luxury today, but it'll probably be a necessity then, right? We will have less time doing stuff because stuff can be done by robots and AI, but we will have to do the stuff that is important for, how humans sort of live in that environment.
Yeah, it's like when you ride Spaceship Earth at Disney World and you get to the end.
I hope we get to the toga port. You know what I mean? I'd ride.
I think the toga piece is going to be based on where you live. You know what I mean? People in Minnesota in the wintertime, it doesn't matter how much free time you have, you're still not going to rock a toga.
At some point, the AI is going to tell all you stupid people living in cold weather,
get to the warm.
This shit isn't meant for human consumption. Go somewhere warm. You know what I mean?
And they will, because remote work, we are more productive than we've ever been, despite what you think about looking at TikTok. The difference is we also at the same time have more disposable time than we've ever had. So think about that combination. You're getting more done than any time in history, and you have double the amount of free time you've ever had. So how you utilize that, and that's what my preach is. My preach is, don't forget to work on your body. Don't forget to work on your mind. You can be super productive from anywhere now, but now you should take that time and spend time and talk to your kids, spend time and work on your health. This is an opportunity. I look at, I'm not scared at all. I'm super excited because I'm going to build shit with all this. Now I can do the things that I didn't have the ability to do or the time to do. And the things that I wanted to do, I can do them now. And everybody. So you can either make it beneficial, or you can sit in a room and cower about all the negative shit that's going on. I'm going the opposite way, man. I'm stoked. I can do shit I never could do before.
Yeah, no, look, I think you've got to embrace it. I mean, I think there's a couple of things. For me, I'm super concerned around some of the privacy and other things. You talk about all of us, how intrusive everything is and how welcoming we seem to be to allowing access, where you're kind of like TikTok, for example, right? I find myself sort of in this weird spot with TikTok where we want to utilize it more with, the podcast and everything else because it could help drive.
Whoa, no. Get rid of that royal we. I don't want nothing to do with TikTok. I've never used TikTok. I don't even want to use the word TikTok. I don't want TikTok in my world. So,
So
that
I heard a good
does not apply to the me.
But I heard a good thing. They're saying, okay, in China, the kids are watching educational videos. In the U.S., they're feeding us videos with girls dancing around and shaking.
Ass.
But you know what? It's an algorithm, and we're watching what we want to watch.
Right?
They're not feeding us anything. We're feeding ourselves.
Yeah. But real quick, but the thing about TikTok, how when you give that such, you download the app on your phone, and and that's why I haven't,
Oh yeah. It's a default. The default for all these apps now are give me all your shit.
Everything, and it's like access. I want your calendar. I mean, access to almost to your emails and all,
but those are all
browser
toggles.
History. Like
you just
all
don't change them.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, great, right? You're like, oh, sure, TikTok, the technology god. I'm sure that all I have to do is just hit no here on the app, and you're not going to take all my shit. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of trust you're placing in faceless, like platforms and things like that, and so I think there's it's a crazy world out there. Well, look, I'd say we got about 10 more minutes. We do want to reserve a little bit of time to kind of talk about sort of a tech controversy of the day. We did have some news that popped yesterday.
Talk. I feel bad, by the way. Let's just let Jen talk about anything she wants to talk about.
Well,
she's got the best voice on the group. So.
Well, she does. So, let's talk about, look, the U.S. just sued Google for antitrust. Let's spend about 10 minutes talking about that, and then we can close it down for this first episode of the relaunch. Because I think it's super interesting. And before we were talking about what are some businesses that are potentially going to be disrupted by AI. And I think that is probably its own. I mean, we could literally keep doing this show on AI and have plenty to talk about. Google is one of those where it's like, is ChatGPT kind of replacing the search engine, right? And then, let's talk about ads, and let's talk about why the U.S.
Don't sleep on Google, dog. Look, here my real quick take is I think it's simple. If you think for 1 second that OpenAI has created something that's more powerful than something that Google has been creating for 20-something years with the largest pocketbook in the world, you're tripping. You know what I mean? You ate that mushroom right there. Like, OpenAI was the first one to get to market, and that is powerful. And I think there is a conspiracy theory here that I probably agree with, which is that, it's funny how much influence, Bill Gates has in the world, and, that Microsoft is, now partnered with ChatGPT, has a little bit of a head start here. And it was at that exact moment, despite it being discussed for 5 years, that they actually filed suit against Google at this exact moment. I think that's quite interesting.
I like the conspiracy theory here on Down the Rabbit Hole.
Conspiracy aside, look, OpenAI was the first to market. First to market is usually the guy that gets the arrows in the back, right? So I think whatever Google does come to market with, and they actually announced today it will come out in 2023, like, it's not going to be like, oh, we played catch up and we made something that's almost as good as ChatGPT. We just felt we need to get something to market. No, they're going to create something that's going to be, my guess, this is obviously just my guess, it's going to be mind-bendingly better than ChatGPT. The problem is it'll be proprietary and not like, it'll be within constraints that Google has put on it, right?
So if anybody's learned how to monetize everything,
yes.
Google's is
but
the best. Let's let Jen
everything
speak.
We talked about,
Shane said he wanted to hear Jen talk.
Google's going to do it better.
Shane said he wanted to hear Jen talk more. So go ahead, Jen. What do you think?
I'm done.
Look, I don't really have an opinion on it because, one, I didn't read the article before.
I didn't do the reading.
I didn't do my research.
DDLR.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I mean, I think I heard someone else like talking about the issues with like Google ads being cannibalized by tech like OpenAI, and where, like, because obviously all this data has to come from somewhere, right? AI has to get this data from somewhere. So where are they getting it from? Is it licensed content? Is it non-licensed content? No one really knows. And so I think that's a big thing that we're all kind of like, I said to Shane, I'm just like, where is this going to go? And I think this is the beginning of it, is there's going to be a lot of litigation around this, in where, these AI tools are accessing content and data and materials. It's a big issue. That's a big issue that I think has not been tackled or addressed, and maybe
the first lawsuit got filed yesterday or Monday, and it was a bunch of graphical artists that said that basically, I think it was actually Stable Diffusion that was being sued, saying that the Stable Diffusion AI had been trained on, work including theirs, and it's a class action suit.
Yep, and I think that's what you'll see too, which is going to be really interesting, right? It's not necessarily Shane, created a picture of a whale picture, using one of these tools off of somebody's IP. If I could chase Shane down if I want, maybe, but this goes back to where the deep pockets are and kind of talking about where's the commercialization happening. Then it's a matter of really looking at these platforms and saying, no, you guys are the bad guys because you guys are the ones that, sure, you're allowing these end users, if you will, to go ahead and leverage my original IP and creating new IP that's violation of my rights. And, so now it's like, so that will be, as the first few of these, what is the role of
those arguments, though, historically speaking, those arguments end up failing, even if there are successful cases. And it's simple. It's like, this is a tool. It's going to become a standard. And that's like saying, I'm going to sue Stanley because somebody took a Stanley hammer and bashed somebody's skull in, right? Stanley didn't create the hammer with the intent of using
let me use an
example,
the most violent example, possible.
Well, I find it when you use these extreme examples, it illustrates the point.
But gun manufacturers get sued all the time. I don't know actually the results of all those lawsuits, but every time there's a mass murder,
unsuccessful.
Yeah,
largely unsuccessful.
Well, I think what we're going to see here is the crawling. So
marketing is generally the only place where these companies end up being susceptible, right? Including cigarette companies, how did you market it? What was the proposal you made that caused people to buy your product and
misleading them? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what I was going to say is we've for the last 30 years we've traded our information to Google for them bringing us traffic. So we have no choice. We put the .txt file on there so that they can go on there. We've catered to Google. Will there be a point where we change it over to a different ending like .ia or AI that allows them to search this part but not anything else? Will our search and our crawling change based on this? And maybe we don't exchange with Google, or maybe we exchange with a new search engine that says only I will scrape and everything else will be blocked. I mean, that's what I see is how will this work? But I do think the way we crawl our data sets is going to change in some form or another.
Yeah. I mean, but we've been giving away our data to the big five for years. This is nothing new. I actually studied it when I did a course recently and went through all of the data privacy terms and conditions and exactly what people were mining of our data. And you can go onto Google and you can go and you can download the whole entire, backlog of what they've been tracking. And it was quite funny because there was a guy who wrote an article on it. And I think he downloaded it and it was the equivalent of a 300-page document that all of this data that they'd collected on him. And he was just like, what? And I'm like, well, it's not surprising. It's like when I explain to people, well, Facebook's not really a social media network. And they're like, but what do you mean? And I'm like, no, they are a data mining company. That's what they do. That's how they make money. That's the business model. They're not a social media network, but most people don't understand that. But we have all been.
It's like the Catholic Church isn't a religion; it's a real estate company.
Or McDonald's is a real estate.
I was going to use McDonald's. Yeah, McDonald's is a real estate. They say that.
So
Catholic Church is the largest real estate owner in the world, though.
Sure. Yeah, but but we also, McDonald's. Anyway,
you don't get it. You get a different form of Happy Meal with that one.
Either you could go get yourself large fry, you could get the Eucharist, what I'm saying? No, I took it different than Shane was, you know what I mean? I tried to head that off at the pass. I don't want to get canceled on day one of the relaunch. But, I think, the Facebook piece is interesting, right? Because it's some combination of selling our data, It's some combination of using that data to serve up the ads to you, and then you get into this whole big thing that circles all the way back to what Drew was talking about in the beginning, about this idea of misinformation and how it's almost like, it's serving up to you what you want to hear, how you want to hear it. The biases and heuristics all tied into this stuff are fucking crazy. And, and without a doubt, the search engines know you better than you know
this
yourself.
This stuff is so complex.
It's really wild.
Everything you all just said is like exactly why I said at the beginning of this segment that, like, don't sleep on Google. Like, there's nobody, I don't care how much you use social media, like, Google has everything. They know that Google knows more about you than every person you've ever met in your life combined, all the data they have on you. Like, And so all of this, the technology itself is a commodity. Or maybe today it's not a commodity, but in 5 years, it'll absolutely unequivocally be a commodity because these things are going to be self-reinforcing. So everybody will more or less be on some level of, be basically compute power and data sets are really the competitive edges for anybody in this space 5 years from now or even today. So it's like, who's got the biggest data set? Google. Who's got the biggest servers? Google. Like, okay, we don't have to discuss this anymore. Like,
and who's got the
Google
biggest
6
sack?
to 12 months?
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, long story short, my investment that I will be making is I'm going to wait for Microsoft to peak here in the short term. I'm going to short Microsoft, long Google. And that's my 2023 investment.
Shane, what do you think, man? What do you think of
that? What I was thinking is here's how I'll end mine is, I was just talking to my daughter. More than ever, you got to enter every room with skepticism and a smile. Like, that's exactly the words I used to her. Like,
I like that.
More than ever, you got to question everything. And at the same time, you got to keep smiling and have some fun with it. You can't worry about it all the time. So it's got to be that balance. Like, you got to be cautious, but man, don't ruin everything by getting all concerned about every single moment. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, pick and play.
Don't forget Google, all of your email. Right? All your emails 100%. Are Google's. Right? So
they even tell me it's bad.
People are like, well, I only do 5 Google searches a day. Well, guess what? You log into every other website with Google. You send all your email to Google. Like, Google owns your ass. Google
but I do think that's going to change. Like, so Google right now is become our default sign-in, right? Like, when you're starting a new company, you pretty much say, Zion's going to change that. I think Jack Dorsey's going to change that. Zion will be your new
I hope so. I'm excited. And by the way, that'll be very good for domain names. Everything about his stack is domain dependent. Domain names are basically the bottom of that stack. Identity, verification, authentication, all of it will come down to domain name. It's the most bullish thing that exists on the planet, in the world right now for domain names. And I try not to say I think, because obviously I'm highly biased, but I suspect and I hope that you're right, that will change that paradigm.
Well, that's the future. Whether it's Zion or whatever comes out, the future is, again, we don't want to go down a rabbit hole on this, but the future is not signing in through Google. The future is a decentralized myself token, or however you want to do it, something that is you, not them, that the world trusts.
Yeah.
So that's.
And if I had to guess, it's going to be a legacy domain name system. It is not going to be some Web3 blockchain.
100%. Yeah, I mean,
100%.
We talk about this all the time. It's going to be Web 5. It's got to be. The world doesn't want decentralization. It doesn't want free. We can't protect
Web3
ourselves.
Domain names are I don't know. They're going 140 miles an hour into a brick wall, and it's going to be going to be, and then they're going to go, oh shit, dead bodies everywhere, and then it's like the people that survive are going to come out like, yo, give me that .com.
Yeah.
Yes.
They'll see what we can do.
I do think that, like we've talked about, Web 5, it's where we're going to skip Web 4 altogether. Web 5 is effectively this web. We also referred to it as Web 2.5, but I think Web 5 is cooler. And it is this combination of Web 2 and Web 3 together, where Web 3 really becomes sort of this application layer around verification, autonomy, control, ownership of your data, ownership of your online persona.
Decentralization with a policeman. That's
Well,
what I'm
it's
calling
like
it.
you need it to a certain degree.
Decentralization with a policeman.
Oh, and it is. It's like, let's get some of the benefits of this, but we can't go completely off the rails into full decentralization because people just can't handle it. It's almost like we don't need it. It's not that we don't need it. It's just that we're not really capable of managing that in a way that really makes sense. And it's almost like we don't need to change for change's sake to something worse necessarily. It's like we have to find the right balance of the things of all the good parts of everything combined. And I agree. I think you start with a legacy domain name, obviously .com always being king, but I think, you look at AI and other things that, start to, IOs.
Sure.
And,
but it's the same thing. It's the same reason why I sold NFT.com, in January 2020 for 110,
we
$1
hate
million
money because we hate
Great
money,
sale.
Drew. That's why we did it.
Yeah, I hate money so much. I decided to sell it before I got $20 million offer. No, but I sold it that early because I'm in thinking about these things. It's like today, NFT, big buzzword, blah, blah, blah. Once NFTs actually hit like escape velocity, nobody's going to give a shit about NFT, non-fungible token. It's going to be just the standard, right? Success is you can define success of any new technology by when it basically it becomes so normal that you don't have to describe it anymore, right? Like, so like search engine. Whoa, it's like if somebody owns searchengine.com, it's like somebody paid like $1 million for it. It's like, sorry, that's probably worth like novelty value, right? Like
it's not worthless. It's just worth
it's
less.
Just worth a hell of a lot less. So I kind of look at AI in the same way. AI is going to become so ubiquitous that it's not like, like right now people are like, oh, .ai domain names. It's like, yeah, I promise you there's going to be a wave of investment. There's going to be money to make. There's going to be blah, blah, blah. It'll be just like, .co, .xyz, everything else. And then that wave will hit the beach. And again, dead bodies everywhere. And people go for the .com. And that's it. That's just how it goes. It's like once AI becomes ubiquitous, which is going to happen a lot faster than any of these other previous technologies, you're not going to call it, like AI anymore. It'll just be Gen. It'll be, it's like not Gen
100%.
AI. It'll be like, no, yo, Gen.
That's
where's the best?
100%. It's like startups. Like in my business, we call it just starting a business. Like now,
exactly.
You're like, I got a startup. What are you doing? Well, I'm putting up a gas station.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
I'm putting a car wash up, I got
I'm like, the word AI it's again, I get it, but they're just tools using computers. It's
100%.
been around forever. And so the terminology is what makes it hot. But the reality is they're tools.
Well, it's
and
like we get emails that are like, hey guys, hey MediaOptions, I just registered hand-regged all these GPT and AI domain names. Can you guys go broker them for me? I just registered them yesterday. And it's like, and I just try to respond to them before Drew does because they get a different response from, or from Chris than from me, where I'm like, oh, thank you so much.
I'm like, I've now entered your name into the database of absolute morons in the, when that comet's about to hit Earth and we're trying to analyze who should get saved, you're on the list of like, you don't need to get saved.
And no, you're done, blocked, blocked.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I swear, I truly fundamentally believe that you can tell basically everything you need to know about somebody just by the domain names they choose.
Oh yeah,
you definitely could for me because it's all nursery and plants and
that's right.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you can see where you live in that spectrum, right? It's like, yo, you got good domain names in the plant world. It's like he did well.
But you can also see the cities. Like I have local city names, and you could tell geography based on their registrations as well. Yeah, you're 100% right. If you have a portfolio of 1,000 domain names, I could probably narrow you down on who you are, where you live, and your hobbies.
Probably totally. Yeah, for sure. So, all right. Well, look, we're running up on time. Jen, you got any other closing thoughts here in down the rabbit hole?
No, I was just going to ask everyone, why is a raven like a writing desk? But I asked Adam that today, and he was just like, what the are you talking about? And I'm like,
I don't even know the words you just said.
How is it? Yeah. So how is it?
Could you say it in American English?
Can you say American?
No, I have a question. No, I have a legit question. We all do ridiculous Australian accents. Do an American accent.
Me.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Do you guys do American accents?
You do American accents like, hey,
I
everybody.
would never.
No.
Howdy, howdy.
I would never.
You
It
don't
would be
have-
way too embarrassing.
Come on. I know you've practiced it before. I know you've
haven't.
done it.
There has
I
to. That's really
haven't.
funny. I never
Well,
thought about
what-
it.
I haven't.
What
I
did you
really
ask?
haven't.
How is a
Okay.
raven what?
How is a raven like a writing desk? It's from Alice in Wonderland. How is a
It's a riddle.
how is a raven like a writing desk?
Yeah.
Do either of you
All right.
have a response to that?
Yeah, but
Don't Google it, Drew. Don't Google it.
I
Come
didn't
on,
Google
man.
it. I just asked ChatGPT. Their answer is that there is no real answer. This is a reference to a line from the Lewis Carroll book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The Mad Hatter poses the same question to Alice, and she is unable to provide an answer.
yes.
The answer is there is no real answer. I like that question.
Well, there
There are multiple answers to it.
There
Yeah.
is, and Lewis Carroll did come out and he did say it was something along the lines of because they both create notes.
They
or
both
something.
create notes, right? Because at a writing desk, you can create, you can write notes, and a raven can caw, which is creating like a singing
Yeah.
note.
Eh,
Yeah, no.
the desk itself
He was
doesn't
like, forget the
create
guy who
notes.
wrote the book. His explanation is bullshit. I don't
Yeah,
even, who's
stay in
he
your
anyway?
lane, Lewis
He
Carroll.
answered
Stay
it
in your
later.
lane.
Exactly.
How is a
Stay in
raven
your
like a writing
lane.
desk? Anyway, all right. Well, look, guys, I really appreciate you guys taking the time. This has been a lot of fun. Again, this is what we kind of do offline in different meetings and things. So to throw us in this funny, crazy set, Billy, you still with us? Cheshire Cat, you still here?
Yeah, I just got back from smoking that hookah with Absalom the Caterpillar. You all some trippy motherfuckers.
And but so I think I'm looking forward to some of these upcoming shows. We got some really great ideas. There are plenty of rabbit holes to dive down. This one alone, I mean, shit, the AI one, I mean, there are hours and hours, and it will continue to iterate, and there'll be other
Crazy.
things.
Every topic in AI has 5 subtopics, has 10 subtopics. It's
really
like,
wild.
oh.
So, but listen, I appreciate you guys taking the time, Jen, especially you, since I know the time zone makes it extra crazy. And to the audience, thanks. If you guys stuck it out this long, thank you so much. We'll let you know which shows are which, just in case some of you are like, this wasn't enough domain content. I want the domain game all day, every day. We'll have a lot more of that for you too. Don't worry, that's not going away. But I will say to everyone on here and elsewhere, fair Farron, which is what the Mad Hatter says to Alice when he says goodbye, which is the Scottish phrase meaning good journey. More elaborately, it means may you travel far under fair skies. And I would add, and even further down deep rabbit holes. So we will see everybody next time here on Down the Rabbit Hole on DomainSherpa, where, believe it or not, all roads still lead to domains. And we'll see everybody next time. Hit us up. We're not hard to find. Thank you so much, audience. Without you, there is no us. And peace out. We'll see you next time.